All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. Have a kind of small Sunday New Year's Eve slate for you guys, but that being said, it is New Year's. Probably not going to have that many people probably watching this video, but there's probably not going to be that many people paying too much attention to this slate in general. Thankfully, we already got some slate changing news, but all in all, that could be a big edge on the day in general. Kind of what are your initial thoughts for the slate today?
Yeah, man, definitely a more interesting slate tonight. We don't really have too much injury news. We do have Keldon Johnson out, a couple other pieces in the news, but yeah, definitely an interesting slate for a New Year's Eve.
And let's just go ahead and start out with kind of the Spurs news, because to me, that's where the chalk should be going. We haven't seen that happen just yet. We got Osman pulling in some ownership at 3.6 and 3.9 on DraftKings and FanDuel for his pricing, so it makes sense why he's getting 30% ownership. But my initial thought was that like Wemby would be a stellar play, projected to get 29 minutes in this game. And the model likes him. And then you look at Julian Champagnie as well, 3%, 2%, one of the better values. Is that something where with the Keldon Johnson, with the Zach Collins news, that the public hasn't adjusted to it? Or is that just, yeah, let's go crazy with them, even though the game's a potential blowout?
Yeah, man, definitely Champagnie hit that ownership that we haven't projected for. Really like Champagnie as value. Chetty Osman projecting for more ownership, but I think both are firmly in play. For value, honestly, we do lack some value, so love them both. Yeah, and then you mentioned Victor or Wemby. I think he's phenomenal tournament play. Should be the reason the Spurs are still in the game. Yeah. I know the spread's pretty high, but yeah, I love Wemby in tournaments.
So for what it's worth, I was looking this up kind of beforehand, and obviously this is a little bit of skewed data, but it's per 36 production, and that's why it's skewed, because we can't bank on him getting 36 minutes, but it's per 36 production with Collins and Keldon Johnson off the court was like 64 fantasy points, which is just crazy. So that's why I want a piece of him, is that if he does get, let's say, 33 minutes, I'm definitely intrigued there.
Yeah, definitely. Wemby could easily smash if he plays that, so I love that call.
But I do want to point out, like Sandro, he's 4K and 4.2. Is there a path where we're getting to him? Because obviously, with Zach Collins out, they don't really have another big, and with Porzingis and now Horford there, we only have him projected to get 12 minutes. To me, that seems kind of wrong. Do you think that's right? If so, like who would be the other big other than Wemby that gets minutes? Is it just Seti? Is that why he's pulling in that much ownership?
Yeah, so I assume Sandro should back him up. Sandro is a really good fantasy producer when he does get the minutes. So I think he's in play as a viable backup center stab, but
yeah,
don't love it, don't hate it. They do also have, I think the third string center is Blake, not Wesley. Who am I?
Barlow? Is it Barlow?
Yeah, Barlow. They could throw Barlow, but in the past they played Sandro, behind Collins. So I think Sandro should play here behind Wemby. Should get blowout run too. So
yeah. This could be a little slight situation like Evan Fournier yesterday, where we just hadn't really seen this exact same situation too much, so the data couldn't really properly project it. To me, I would say Sandro makes more sense to get 17 or so minutes in this rather than the 13, but probably a little bit too thin. Some other injury news that we have, it's not that big. Drew Holiday ruled out. We have seen one Boston Celtics player ruled out the past few days. Today just happens to be Drew Holiday. Maybe a slight bump to Tatum, maybe a slight bump to Porzingis, White, Jaylen Brown, maybe Pritchard as well. Do you see anyone that you would want to be on as a play, given the fact that the pricing is a little bit higher since we've had injury news like this recently?
Yeah, so Derek White, just quick side note, he's been shooting awful, but in the past 2 games, he shot bad and still crushed his fantasy value. So I think he gets a really big bump with no Drew. And then Peyton Pritchard, even if he doesn't start, I still think he looks pretty solid at his price point with no Drew Holiday. So like both those guys. And then the rest of Boston's kind of just there for me, just with potential blowout. Kind of tough to get to them.
I gotcha. And just for what it's worth, guys, in the comments section, I don't have that pulled up right now. So if you have any questions, I'm going to try to pull that up on my end. But that's why I haven't answered any if there are any coming in. But let's go ahead and take a peek at another situation as well. Looking at the Lakers, we did get news that they're going to be without D'Angelo Russell, Cam Reddish, and then Gabe Vincent still. To me, I instantly want to jump on Austin Reeves. He gets a big bump in usage and production. I would say he's chalky on FanDuel, and he should be I actually say that he should probably be 40% owned there. On DraftKings, I would say probably should be closer to 25. To me, that's one of the biggest leverage spots that we have. But you kind of mentioned beforehand that maybe Max Christie could be a sneaky play. Do you want to touch on that a little bit more?
Yeah, so really briefly, I love that call with Reeves. I think on FanDuel, way too cheap. Should be higher on. Most likely, we'll have Reeves in my single entry on FanDuel. And then, yeah, so Max Christie, I know his price point isn't really enticing at 4,300, but with no D'Angelo Russell and no Reddish, I think that Christie should see pretty good minutes here. Maybe he could get the start as well. So I like him.
Yeah. Is there anyone else there that we'd be looking at? Because obviously that is a, kind of two guards that are going to be gone. Obviously that's going to be some usage that's taken up. And to me, that's why I want to be on Reeves more, but maybe it's not Christie. Maybe it's not Reeves. It's not really going to be Torian Prince or anything. Maybe it's just LeBron picking up more usage. And I would say he's probably properly priced. I don't know. I'm looking at the minutes. We see Vanderbilt, Hachimura projected for a lot of minutes, Torian Prince projected for a lot of minutes. And I guess, again, I think it's just Reeves. We haven't projected to get 32, and that's obviously like a 4-minute bump than what he's used to getting. So I don't know. Do you see anything else value-wise? Because, again, we do have a lot of minutes going there for the Lakers.
Yeah, I think it's ultimately going to come down to who does start for the Lakers. If Ruiz starts at 5,200, I think he's a solid contrarian mid-tier value play. And then, yeah, it's going to come down to whoever starts. And then, yeah, Reeves, I think Reeves is like you mentioned, the biggest bump here because those extra 4 minutes are big time for Austin Reeves.
Yeah. So I think there was one other kind of news item. Let's see here. A little bit of Magic. We can touch on that. So yeah, the Magic are just still banged up. It's tough to say exactly what to do. Do you have anyone here that you want to be on? Markelle Fultz is going to be active in this game, projected to get 26 minutes. But to me, that just makes me not want to be on any of the Magic players. Wendell Carter expected to play today. Yeah, is there anyone there that you like?
Yeah, no one really sticks out. Kind of with Fultz back, kind of hurts pretty much everyone, particularly the guards with Suggs and Gary Harris and those guys. So yeah, I would have liked to play Goga if Wendell Carter was out, but Wendell Carter's in. So yeah, really tough for me to get to anyone.
Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and just jump on into kind of the guard plays then, unless you have anything else newsworthy.
I think we covered it for the most part, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, jumping into the guard plays. Can you hear me on this slide? It's always this one. I always have to ask.
We lost Eric.
Okay. I figured. All right. So here we go. We'll jump into this one. So yeah, looking at the top guard plays that we have, Champagne, I personally think just at that price, I want to be on him. He's coming in as the top value play on the OF Index right now. I don't know if his ownership doesn't change, I'd be happy to get there. Josh Giddey pulling in some ownership and coming in as the second best guard value. He is probably a little bit too cheap on DraftKings. The issue is that we only have him projected to get 24 minutes. Devin Vassell at 7.2, probably a decent safe play. Trey Jones, I'm probably more interested in for the Spurs. Just hoping that he's staying involved with Wemby. CJ McCollum at still kind of a cheap price on DraftKings, pulling in some ownership. Is there anyone here that you think is kind of a starting point, whether that be pricing, whether that be matchup, maybe ownership? Where's your starting point here for the guards?
Yeah, you already mentioned it. CJ McCollum at 6.9K. I think one of the better overall top plays in terms of price point and value. So yeah, CJ McCollum really like. And then yeah, I hate saying that, but Josh Giddey at 5.5K on a slate, we don't have too much value. He looks pretty solid. And then we already mentioned, I think Derek White and Peyton Pritchard both look like really good starting spots as well, with no Drew Holiday.
Yeah. To get a question or a statement about Bradley Beal, I see that one popping up as a good FanDuel value potentially. I think he's good value on both sides. The issue is the data doesn't. So it's tough to know what to do. They're only projected to get 15 minutes. Is that a situation where maybe the minutes update and he gets to 30 or so or 25? I guess what are your expectations for Bradley Beal today? Because I'm seeing that and I'm probably looking at fading him. What are your kind of thoughts on Beal tonight?
Yeah, so we could guarantee 30 plus minutes out of Beal. I think he's an absolute steal at 6,100.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they kind of said they're going to monitor his minutes. So, I mean, if he gets 30 plus, I think he looks really good, but
Yeah.
That's not confirmed. So he's fine as a tournament play.
And I will say the matchup with Orlando is not exactly one I'm gearing up to target, even if he is at this cheap price tag. I don't know. For me, it's more difficult to get there just because I do think that there's better value out there. Maybe not specifically for FanDuel. We'll sort it by FanDuel real quick. Yeah, I mean, I guess I get that. FanDuel's a little bit more thin today. This is one of the rare days where I think DraftKings is much more appealing today than FanDuel, where it seems like the last week or so, given the pricing, it's been more DraftKings or more FanDuel. So interesting there. Do you see anyone popping up FanDuel value wise? I don't really see it today.
Yeah, FanDuel Reeves is like the only one that I really liked at the
Yeah.
price point.
Yeah.
After that, it's just really tough. Yeah, FanDuel was very stiff pricing today.
I do want to point out, I think Malik Monk could be a good play on both sites, maybe on FanDuel as well. He is coming in pretty chalk, though, 53%. That's my concern. I think it is that high because I think people are assuming that Kevin Huerter is going to be out, which I would agree becomes a much more appealing play. But does that game start a little bit later, or do they all start at the same time today? That game does start a little bit later. So a little bit risky there, I guess, because if Herter's active, I do think that hurts Monk. Monk's been playing well. Is he someone that you were trying to get to today, or is that just an ownership thing that you maybe aren't looking to do or be on?
Yeah, so Malik Monk, I believe, is like 100 less than Bradley Beal on DraftKings.
Mm-hmm.
So if Beal's going to project for a ton of ownership, I would kind of want to pivot to some Monk and then on DraftKings, and then on FanDuel, Monk looks really good either way. At 5,600, looks like a really solid play.
Okay. Any other guard plays, or if not, we can zoom on into the forwards.
Yeah, you just real quick. You mentioned Trey Jones.
Yeah.
I think he's perfectly fine as well on both sides.
Yeah, 5K, got 27 minutes, 26 minutes, 27 minutes. It seems like he's starting to get more run. Blowout wise for the Spurs, it's tough to predict what they're going to do regardless. And so kind of just whatever. I think he's a great, what I call shoulder shrug play. If you end up on him, closing out your build, you're good with that. You're closing out your build.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you.
So is Trey Murphy, moving on to like the guards forwards, I see that he is listed as out. Is that why maybe some of the Pelicans are pulling in some ownership as we pivot on into the forwards? Because I wouldn't think that he would be a big mover of like production and usage and whatnot, but we're seeing Zion pull some ownership. We're seeing Herbert Jones pull some ownership. Ingram pull some ownership. To me, that's a little bit shocking. And CJ McCollum is kind of high owned. Is that really what it is? Or do you have any explanation for kind of why they're that high owned on today's slate?
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of two things. I think it's the cheap price points on all the studs, and then also Trey Murphy out, which does open up even more value for the Pelicans. And then on top of that, pretty good matchup against the Lakers. So I think they all look good. I hate saying it, but it's going to be tough to avoid New Orleans.
So I'm seeing it, and now I see Dyson Daniels' price discrepancy between the two sites. He's 17% owned on DraftKings. Point guard forward eligible on DraftKings. Definitely comes much more appealing. Only projected to get 18.7 minutes. Is that enough, though? Is that low enough of a price tag where we could be jamming him in to fit some studs in? Or is that maybe a little bit too low? And at the same time, we also have Najee Marshall as well, pulling in 26% projected ownership, also 19 minutes. Like, I guess, is there one of those that you prefer? Are you fine playing both of them? Maybe not in the same build, but kind of what are your thoughts on those two as values?
Yeah, so Dyson, I prefer him obviously when Alvarado was out. With even with Trey Murphy out, I don't think it really affects him too much. I think it affects more guys like Najee Marshall and Brandon Ingram and those guys. I don't know. I'm not huge on Dyson Daniels tonight.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, I would say Marshall. I guess obviously it's a smaller slate, 5-game slate. I could get to one of those. I don't know if it's really going to matter today. Which one you're trying to guess to get lucky? Probably.
Yeah. No, definitely agree.
Let's see here. So LeBron, I don't know if you saw yesterday's live stream, but LeBron birthday day did not really go as planned. Only 47 fantasy points. Game could have went to OT and could have got lucky there if he would have just kept his big toe off the 3-point line. Any love for him where he's now priced up going against the Pelicans?
Yeah, so I think I'd rather just play AD. AD power forward eligibility. LeBron's still fine at 9.8K, but I just think there's better guards, and then obviously he is eligible at small forward. But I'm riding the AD train, man. He's been playing very, very good, so I think I just prefer AD.
I agree as well. Like the fact that it's only $100 difference on DraftKings specifically, that's way too low. I think his price on FanDuel is probably still too low for AD, 11.3. Public kind of agrees with that, 21% projected owned. But looking at the OF index right now, The best forward plays go Tatum, AD, Wemby, LeBron, KD, Bane, and then it kind of funnels down really kind of correctly based off of the pricing, and it starts to make sense a little bit more there. To me, I'm looking at that. I'm like, okay, Tatum at 14%. I kind of like that. And you already know my thoughts on Wemby there. Is there anyone that you see as like a standout play there when looking at it like that way?
Yeah, so for me, the standouts are, I think Brandon Ingram, I think it's got to be my number one. Without Murphy, I know like he doesn't directly correlate, but Murphy takes a ton of shots. Ingram should capitalize on more opportunities. Should see probably potentially more minutes, maybe a couple more with no Murphy. So I think Ingram's probably number one for me, and then Austin Reeves and Champagne. Those three, in terms of like overall forward plays, probably my three favorite on the slate.
Yeah. And for the sample build, I think I'm just going to put Reeves and Champagne in there just to start because I agree with those two. I think pricing wise, I think it makes the most sense. Obviously, Reeves is going to be much more appealing on FanDuel, but still, I think the point still remains there. Would there be any love for, let's say, Keegan Murray or maybe Harrison Barnes if we do get news that Herter is out? To me, I don't like that. I don't like those two. They are way too shot dependent. It's like RJ Barrett, but times 3, and that's not something I like. But Keegan Murray's relatively cheap. I think Keegan Murray had like 5 stocks in the last game and had like 5 points, and it was just like, man, can you make some buckets? Any love for either of those two? Because obviously if they are hitting some shots, they could have some GPP upside. Do you like either of those?
Yeah, so I think I would rather play Keegan Murray. Harrison Barnes, he's so old, and he's not shown. I think the highest like fantasy score he's had is like 25 DraftKings points.
It was that first game. It was the first game. Honestly, I think that's created a weird bias for me and kind of the industry as well. Sorry to cut you off, but 45 in that first game, and then since then, nothing.
He's been so bad. So I think he's a fade for me. So yeah, probably don't mind taking shots with Keegan Murray, but I'm just gonna be focusing on Monk, I think, from Sacramento.
I agree with that. They're both projected to get 30 minutes, so again, probably a little bit too thin. So any other forwards here that you like, maybe value-wise or anything like that? Grayson Allen's probably priced correctly, only 4% owned. Al Horford, we have seen when like Derek White's out, he's kind of a stud in that regard, but might be a little bit different with Drew out. So kind of what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so I want to talk about the 2 value forwards for New Orleans. So Herbert Jones and Najee Marshall. So Herbert Jones, like he's been really bad. He's almost like got played off the court a couple games. Mm-hmm. So I think I'd rather just play Najee. Obviously with no Murphy, Herbert should get more minutes, but he has not been good. So I think I just prefer Najee. But I mean, Herbert's still definitely in play as a value forward.
Yeah, just kind of looking at their game logs, like Herbert Jones has been getting some run. He's probably going to get more run today, but he's been putting up maybe max of 17, and then like. If we get 15 out of Marshall at 4.3, I think we'd kind of be okay with it. I think this is actually a good pivot because to me, I think one of my favorite, I don't want to say favorite plays, but an interesting play is actually Larry Nance tonight at 3.9. Now, I don't think we need to get there, but value-wise, if he gets 20, 21 minutes like he is at 3.9 on DraftKings specifically, I think that's a decent play. Is that anything you're looking at center-wise today, or am I just like crazy and we don't need to do that?
Yeah, I think that might be a little bit too far-fetched for me. Yeah. He was projecting for like 15% ownership. Joval is still in, so I mean, if Joval was out, I think Nance definitely could see, some more run. But with Joval in, I'm not too sure I want to get there. So
yeah. Just a couple. Well, here, 1 second. I want to touch on this. So, is that a situation where maybe J-Val is going to be less appealing with Larry Nance back because he's 6.8 on DraftKings? That would be a great price tag. But he's only 5% and 2%. That's kind of my thought. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I think it more. I can't speak. I think it affects Jeremiah Robinson Earl more, the old backup center. I think Nance just takes his minutes. I actually don't mind Joval. I mean, he shouldn't have like 35 minutes like he was playing or 33 minutes, but I think he's still fine at that price point. So if he's going to be low, I actually don't mind him at all at center.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. So just talking about some of the questions again, I can't pull them up today, guys. Apologies for that. So someone was asking, why are we playing Austin Reeves? LeBron is not out. It's more because all the other guards are out. Much more of a better FanDuel play than he is DraftKings play. I'll pull it up here. And this is kind of more me. The data doesn't exactly like it as much. The model doesn't exactly like it as much. But on FanDuel, I think he's kind of just an easy play at 6.5. But I really like the leverage spot there. 7.3, he's projected to get 32 minutes. That'd be 4 or so more minutes than he has been getting. And if you look at his per 36 production, he just gets a big usage bump, shooting about 5 more shots as well per 36. Again, probably not going to get 36 minutes, closer to 34 is kind of what I'm hoping for. But I like the ownership there. I think it's a big leverage spot.
Yeah, and we kind of have to remember, right? Like, I think around Thanksgiving time, we also did have Cam Reddish out in the same spot. And Austin Reeves, he was cheaper, but he was like 40% owned in like most contests for a couple of sites in a row. So, like, I think people are just forgetting, like, Reeves does boost without Reddish and without Russell. Like, Russell was in last time. Russell's out. That's a lot of, even off the bench, that's a lot of shots to go to him.
And he's been a pretty consistent fantasy producer while getting 24, 28 or so minutes over the past 2 weeks. And so you give him a few extra minutes, it's not that difficult to see him gain to 35, maybe even 40 fantasy points. So, yeah. And then another one, Wemby, no ownership. Yeah, I'm actually shocked by that. I feel like that's going to get corrected, but that could just be because the game has a high blowout risk, 14 for the line. 30 is going to be the point difference there. It's tough to predict blowouts. Obviously, I think a good example was literally Detroit against Boston a few games ago, where Detroit was like 16-point dogs or something, but the public loved the money line bet at plus 900 or whatever it was, and they almost won. So if you're always banking on like Vegas being correct in that sense, it's kind of risky. At what point do you start to worry about blowout risk? To me, it's typically 7. But at the same time, I'm starting to get away from that. I'm curious as to your thoughts. Is that like at what line do you start worrying about blowout risk?
Yeah, for me, it's like 12 and up is like when I start to be like, okay, this game could probably blow out or maybe blow out.
Yeah.
If it's 10 or below, or 12 or below, I don't really like worry about it too much.
Yeah. And oh man, all right. So the comments are now pulling up here. Very nice. So all right, very good. Very nice. So Courtney's asking, what does leverage spot mean? Pretty much just when a player is lower owned than they should be, like compared to the field. So like Reeves, 2%, the field's not getting there to him. So if he outproduces his price tag, that's a good leverage spot.
Yeah, no, definitely agree.
All right. So best pay up options above 8.6. I'll let you handle that one right now. It's kind of interesting given the pricing, but yeah, I'll let you handle that one.
Yeah, so my favorite spend up tonight, I think it's going to be Anthony Davis on both sides, especially on DraftKings with the forward eligibility at at 10,000. I really like AD, and then 8.6 and above. I'm trying to see who else is above that. Let's go through this real quick.
Yeah, you got Fox, you got Brown, KD, Booker, Morant, LeBron, Wemby, SGA, and Tatum.
Yeah, I think Jaw actually phenomenal tournament play against Sacramento. Was going to mention him in guards, but I think if you're spending up for a guard, I really like Ja Morant. And then, SGA is always in play. I mentioned on the Discord, I think he's always a phenomenal tournament play. He's just playing out of his mind this year. So I think those three are probably my favorite overall. And then Wemby too. Wemby, if the game stays close and he gets the minutes, looks really good.
Yeah, that's my biggest issue with the slate, with how I like it, is that no one that I really like is too high owned. So it's weird there. Who starts for Reddish? I can look at the projected starting lineup here, and then we're going to jump into centers here, guys. So projected starting lineup right now is what I'm seeing, and I don't know if this is true. It's going to be LeBron, Prince, Hachimura, Vanderbilt, AD, but who knows?
Yeah, so I think it's either Hachi or Christie.
Okay.
And whoever starts between those two, I'll probably, like a decent amount for contrarian value. So,
and was it Christie the last time?
I think like in a
similar situation. I don't know if this is this exact one, but
I think it was. But I mean, it could be either one. It's kind of depend on who they really want to start, I guess.
Yeah, and he's projected to get 24 minutes right now. would he need to get more for you to feel comfortable playing him at 4.3 and 4.1 on it for his salary?
Yeah, I mean, I would like 30 minutes plus from whoever starts there between Christie and Hachi, but yeah, I would if they didn't play that, I'd be a little bit more hesitant to get to them.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump on into the rest of the centers here. We kind of already mentioned the Pelicans center, so no need to rehatch that. You already mentioned Anthony Davis, that you really like him as a play. I agree. The data agrees. Kind of the standout center play. The issue is, do we have to pay up for him? We will see. Sabonis we have there. We have Porzingis, Chet, Jaren Jackson, Nick Claxton, Yusuf Nurk, J-Val. We already mentioned J-Val. And really, to me, it's a weird slate because I do want to pay up at center, which lately I haven't been doing too much, and it's been working out. So kind of what are your initial thoughts for the center spot today?
Yeah, so Jaren Jackson and 80, they're the top of the model, but I think they're two of the better center plays on the slate. Jaren, phenomenal matchup against Sacramento. Him, Jaw, and Bane, all great tournament plays against Sacramento. And then, yeah, Sabonis looks like he's also picking up a little bit of steam.
He is.
9,500. I don't know. He seems priced correctly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just kind of there with him. And then Chet Holmgren, he's always in play. The stalk upside is huge on
Yeah.
FanDuel in particular. I think he's, firmly in play as well.
So yeah, it's honestly like I really don't mind Chat on any night, and he doesn't seem to be correctly priced just yet. It kind of feels like LeBron and AD for most of the start of the season. What are your thoughts though on Deron Sharp? Because Claxton was questionable at the start of the day, and I think that could actually be why Sharp is pulling in some ownership. People were maybe hoping for him to, be out so that Sharp would be a good play. Only 12%, and I would still say it's probably too high at 16.4 projected minutes, but he has been a point per minute producer. Is he anyone you're looking at, or yeah, it's probably too thin now?
Yeah, it's probably 210. I mean, if you wanted to take a stab, hoping he comes in as a backup and gets, a good stint in, I don't hate it, but yeah, definitely a guy I don't really want to target too much.
Yeah. Man, this is fascinating. So, I could make a case, I think, for like all the center plays really in some sort of regard. Because, like, to me, Porzingis with Drew out, I am interested in that going against the Spurs. Like, he could put up GPP winning upside. Looking at his game log 49, 52, and 50, like, I really wouldn't be shocked if he does that tonight. And obviously, that would hold GPP winning upside. That being said, you have Al Horford, who seems to crush when Derek White's out. Now you get Drew Holiday out. I think that's somewhat interesting. And then we also have the Lakers bigs, Vanderbilt as someone that could be interesting as a play. Kind of mentioned Sandro earlier, probably not someone we're getting to, but he's interesting. And then you also have Trey Lyles pulling in some ownership as well. Could be a cheap value play that gives you 6x, maybe 6x, maybe 7x actually. So did any of those plays that I just mentioned kind of spark your interest at all?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see getting to Trey Lyles for cheap. I was on him a little bit the couple sites ago, so I think he has the upside to get 6 or 7 times his salary. So definitely don't mind him. The rest of these guys, I don't know. Like, Sharp, no, I don't really want to play
Yeah.
Biyombo. Horford, I don't love. I mean, if one of Kristaps or Tatum was out, I think Horford would look a lot better. But with both those guys in, it's tough for me to get to Horford.
Yeah, I got you there. Bismack actually pulling in some ownership, surprising. I think that's just a pricing thing where he's 3.9 now. People are like, that's worth a shot.
Yeah, that's what I think so.
Yeah. Nick Claxton not pulling in any ownership as he probably shouldn't be right now. Actually, 28% on FanDuel. That's kind of interesting there, but I think that's a little bit too thin.
Yeah, no, I mean his minutes just haven't been there. They don't play this guy, and I just don't get
Oh.
it. He's a great player. Like I just don't understand it.
So I think we have some more questions coming in. So let's highlight those, and we'll kind of give you guys our first look build or kind of our thoughts for the build process today. So looking at it, we got a question coming in. Can you speak on Luke Kennard, contrarian play on FanDuel? Interesting. Let's see. Is he active? That's my first question. So yeah, projected to get 17 minutes. Honestly, could be. I need to check everyone else. Do you have any thoughts on this initially?
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get there personally. It seems a little bit too thin for me.
Yeah, kind of looking at it right now. Rose would need to still sit. We're not protecting him for minutes, so that's good. I mean, it's the first game back. I wish he was cheaper. 3.8. I could see getting there. I could like. I'm going to sort it by pricing and just kind of do FanDuel here. Let's see. Under 4K for FanDuel, just to see if there's anyone that we'd like significantly want to be on more than that. Seti, Daniels, Doug McDermott potentially 20 minutes for him. So I could see the question there. I get it. I guess looking at which one, I don't know if you can see it on the screen right now. Which one would you prefer? I guess rank those plays if you can, value wise.
Yeah, between Kennard.
Yeah, we got Kennard, Doug McDermott, Daniels. I would say those four.
Well, those four, I'd probably, Chetty, I'm gonna exclude because I really like Chetty. But
okay.
I'd say Daniels, McDermott, Kennard, and then everyone else.
Yeah, so it's not too crazy though. Then, like if you're looking at it that way, like especially maybe filling a guard spot. Yeah, so that's okay. I don't mind that. Interesting play. He's shot dependent. Let's see here. Is Pritchard an okay play today?
Yes, I love Pritchard today on both sides, especially on FanDuel. I think he's 4,400. I love him. I love him on the price.
Yeah, pretty good leverage spot there in DraftKings there as well. He would be someone that, blowout run could, soak up some more usage as well. 242 over and under.
Yeah, love Pritchard with no Drew Holiday.
Yeah. This is awesome. So the OJ father's like, these guys are going to ask for likes, so do it pretty much. That is pretty awesome. Thank you for that comment. That is awesome.
You have to, right? It's for the algorithm, man.
It is. I do hate asking for the likes, so I do appreciate that. That's an awesome comment right there. But yeah, it is kind of crazy, honestly. He's right. 245 watching, 17 likes. So yeah, the likes do help. I always say, guys, at the start of the video, hit the like button. So when you guys come back tomorrow, make sure to hit the like button then.
100% agreed.
So let's go ahead and get into kind of a closing thoughts build here for you guys. Right now, we already have Reeves and Julian Champagny, and those were two players that we were kind of agreeing with. Where should we go next? Is it something where we should just maybe eat the chalk, maybe eat the value that's popping up? We are already kind of doing that. Maybe go with the OF index. Where do you think is the next best starting point?
Yeah, let's go. We need some New Orleans in our build, so we can either go Najee or Herb Jones. We could go both, but I think I really like Najee tonight. With no Trey Murphy, I think Najee should see a lot of minutes here. So
can I don't want to rephrase it for you, but you like his pricing a lot today, right? You don't really like him too much today, right?
Yeah, it's combined price with Murphy out. Yeah, that's what I like about him.
I just want to be careful because we've had these terrible value plays lately that aren't the best, that are good enough. And I think that's the summary. Is that he's going to be good enough on a small slate where you can make it work. So I'm okay with that. I like that. Let's see here. Next, I personally want to get to Wemby. The question becomes, do we play do we play Wemby in the power forward or center spot? Or is there like a center play that you think is going to be very good? Because I could see myself getting to Porzingis. I could see myself getting to Chet. But are you fine using Wemby in the center spot?
Definitely fine. Okay. I don't really have too many true centers that I like blocking tonight. So
it's a weird slate in that regard. So from there, I'll kind of let you take the reins. Maybe we go Osman where he's pulling in some ownership. He's probably chalk. We probably need to get some more chalk, maybe Blanc or something like that, Beal. But I'll let you kind of decide the next play.
Yeah, I think Chetty. I think you can go Chetty and I think you can go both the forwards for them together. I'm trying to think. They should be able to get there with no Keldon. And then we should try to get one of the guards between Ingram and McCollum, I think.
Okay, let's see here.
One of those.
McCollum's so cheap. That's kind of I know it's like kind of risky because he does have like 25-point nights, but he also has 40-point upside. I would rather get there, I think, but Ingram is so consistent. He has such a great matchup. Like with him, we're basically locking in 40. It seems like with McCollum, we're hoping for 40.
I'm fine with CJ. Let's throw CJ at the point guard. I like him a lot.
Okay. We'll do that. And then we have 7.9 left over. So yeah, it is a slate in which we're going to have a lot of salary left over, or you can choose to have a lot of salary left over. That's just kind of the night that we have. So looking at it, heck, we could probably fit in AD pretty comfortably if we wanted to do that. We could fit in Zion if we wanted to do that. We could fit in Ingram if we wanted to. So it's pretty open.
Definitely. And, all those guys are very good players. So I'm fine with any of them. I mean, 80 I probably want to get to, but, Zion in his own right is a really good play too.
I probably want to play AD here just because he is kind of chalky, more chalky. Has a little bit more upside, I would say. So we'll go with that. And then 5.7 left over. I'll just kind of sort it by the... Do you know someone right there?
I thought Monk was... I think he's 300 more. I was going to say Monk.
Yeah.
6K would have been good.
Yeah, he's a little bit too high priced there. That would have been nice.
Yeah, let's see. 5.7. Is it guard?
Yeah, guard only. So it's pretty thin.
Josh Giddey 55. Don't mind that.
Yeah, he's kind of chalk too. It's a good way to jump on the chalk. And the reason I'm saying that for anyone that's confused is that we are already pretty contrarian right now by going with the Spurs and by going with Reeves. So you don't want to be too crazy. So I don't know. I don't like the Josh Giddey chalk, but at the same way, I think that this is a very good way to jump on the chalk a little bit without like hurting your chances of winning too much.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we definitely have a mix of chalk and low on. Like Wemby should be low owned, Reeves low owned, and that's all you really need. You can play the rest chalk.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to refresh this real quick. Just seeing if we have any ownership changes at all. Let's see. We got a question coming in from Matt. We'll pull that up here real quick. Maybe you can take this. It's Jeremy Sohan or Jalen Suggs. So that's definitely an interesting one. Yeah, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, so I think for me with no Keldon, probably would prefer Sochan. But let's look at the model here. I mean, the model usually would be the best indicator between the two. So Sochan 8.0 OF index, and then Suggs coming in at a 6.6. Yeah, so definitely Sochan there.
Yeah, and just for me, with the Magic, with Fultz being back, I want to take the wait and see approach. I feel like they all lean into each other's usage a decent amount.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I'm just refreshing the ownership I just did. Not too many big changes. We are getting Julian Champagnie to be a little bit chalkier now, as kind of expected. Trey Jones pulling in some ownership as well. I kind of agree with that. And then McCollum about the same. Marshall beginning chalky now. So starting to make a little bit more sense ownership wise. Wemby still not too chalky. So I think that could be a good leverage spot.
Yeah, one more thing on the build. Could we go off of Giddey to Trey Jones and then see?
Yeah, I actually like that better.
Yeah,
I do. Let's see here. And then 700 left over. So
we can't get up from... We could get off Reeves because I know he's not like really optimal, but I mean, if you want to keep him in the build.
No, I do. I'm going to go Osman there because like we're saying he's a much better play than Marshall, or are we not?
Yeah, I think he's safer than Marshall for sure.
Okay. That's a good way to sum it up.
Yeah, definitely.
Which one would hold or more upside though? Is it Chetty or is it Marshall?
So it's kind of depend. If Najee starts, I think he probably has a little bit more upside.
Yeah.
If they both start, then probably Chetty. But kind of going to depend on who plays, who starts, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah. But let's see. But by doing this, we have 4.1 left over forwards. Probably still a little bit too thin. I was wondering if we could get to Trey Lyles, but he might be center eligible and he might be too high priced there. Yeah, 100 off.
Yeah,
so we could go Marshall then, I guess, and get Lyles.
Yeah, I mean, but I think we're on the right track, right? Like, McCollum, Ingram, Zion, like one of those guys is going to have a great game, potentially two. So I think that game stack is really good.
Yeah. So we got a question coming in from Jason. Could we do a FanDuel build? Not really. Just with the way FanDuel's set up, it makes it hard for content purposes, honestly, but we can talk through it. I personally think Reeves is, I don't want to say a must play, but much more intriguing there. Whereas DraftKings, I kind of get it. There is some pricing discrepancies there. Like Branham, as you guys can see here, kind of chalky. he's high owned. Monk is high owned. I think that's correct. Herbert Jones, I don't know if we need to get there. Trey Jones, I don't know if we need to get there. Pritchard's a little bit cheaper there. That chalk makes sense. That was something that Nick or Jayhawk mentioned as well as a good play. Are there any other FanDuel plays that you really like that you would say are really good starting points or maybe value plays?
Yeah, I mentioned Peyton Pritchard at 4,400. Really like Pritchard. And then I don't know. I don't like. It's weird. Branham's 40% on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Trey Jones is like 30% on DraftKings. So I feel can't make up their mind. Like, well, who do we like as?
That's crazy.
I don't. It's gonna come down to who starts for me. Like, I don't think Trey's gonna start. I think they probably start Branham once again. So I think that ownership should come down on Trey Jones.
Looking at Branham for FanDuel, I think it's because he's forward eligible as well. Just presents a little bit more flexibility. I'm just going to assume that. But yeah, that's kind of crazy there.
The ownership, gap there is pretty big on both sides.
And I do want to say that the Pelicans pricing is a little bit more pricey on FanDuel, so maybe that's part of it as well, where it doesn't exactly show it in ownership, but I think that could be part of it a little bit with Ingram and McCollum, where they're lower owned there. I think that's part of it, just because it's much easier to get to. Yeah, like Najee Marshall on DraftKings, Dyson Daniels a little bit more on DraftKings as well. So that's probably why that's the value for FanDuel.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think McCollum is 7,900 on FanDuel, 1,000 cheaper on DraftKings. So that's kind of crazy.
And then we got Josh kind of wondering about center play that we like best on FanDuel. Yeah, we can go over that. So sorted by FanDuel center. To me, it's tough. I would probably say Porzingis for me. I just like his upside going against the Spurs. I think he presents GPP winning upside. Just center only. Like Wemby, I already like. Chad, I think is fine. What about you?
Yeah, so in terms of like center, I really like Chet. Or Chet. I never pronounce his name right.
Yeah.
Never like I always get it wrong. But
Yeah.
I think he has the biggest ceiling, in the mid tier here with the blocks and steals being 3 each. Like we've seen some massive games from Chet, so I like him a lot. And then yeah, I mean Sabonis is fine. A little bit high on, but if we're talking about 3 centers, I think he makes sense too.
Yeah, and that's what's fascinating about FanDuel a lot this year is that they have been doing a lot of power forward center eligibility, which does open up a lot. It seemed like really at the start of the season in previous years, that was always the hardest position, at least for me, because you had to make tough decisions between, do I want to play a value center or do I want to pay up for Embiid or Jokic? Thankfully this year they haven't been doing that to us as much.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I keep saying AD, but AD is my favorite forward center play on the slate by pretty good margin. So.
Yeah. And just for example purposes, guys, we were pretty easily able to fit an AD into that build. So, let's see here. Need a FanDuel lineup for tonight's game. Check out the video that was posted. I believe it was posted earlier, or is it live right after this?
What's that?
The NFL DFS video.
Yeah, I think.
I have to check, but check the channel. It'll be there, either coming up or already posted. So, one last thing, just OF index plays below 4K. We'll do that, and then we'll be getting out of here. So, yeah, below 4K, we'll do DraftKings, and it's probably just going to be the values, honestly. Yeah, so like they're not great plays, but value-wise, they are great plays. So just the same players that we kind of already mentioned in this video.
Yeah, and then he did say OF index. Yeah, I mean, OF index is that and ownership are the two things I look at the most in terms of if a play is good. If they both, like if he's high owned and the OF index likes him, I think that's a great way to say, okay, he's a good player.
All right, so I'm trying to look at who's in the Discord tonight. Do you know? It could be me.
I'm back to back.
It's you? Okay. I thought it was one of us, so that makes sense. So do you just want to tell them a little bit about the Discord, and then we'll do a little bit of a send-off here?
Yeah, for sure. So usually one of me, Chuck, Eric, or Nick will put out a, do a little breakdown. Sometimes we throw out a sheet, sometimes not. We'll just type up the top plays in Discord. So it's kind of just a mini breakdown of the slate. You can ask questions. It's a nice little Q&A. So you guys should hop in the Discord. It's, I think you get it with Occupy Fantasy if you sign up. I think as low as $5 a month. Get the model and Discord. So, make sure to hop in there, sign up, and make some money with us.
Yeah, and just really, it's a good resource not only up until lock, which is what we do, log off here 30 minutes before lock, but also after lock. Honestly, like there's so many times where some news will happen after lock, and it's a pretty good resource for that.
Yeah, I'm always putting it in the NBA chat too, like who I like with other guys ruled out late. So I think it's good to be in there for sure.
I'm not going to pull it up, but we got a question about Christie. We both kind of said he's fine, kind of at a higher price tag. Would like him better if we get news that he's starting.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. We mentioned earlier, love Christie, especially if he's starting. If he's not starting, I probably won't play him.
And again, just another quick plug. Once we get that news, that's something we'll cover in the Discord chat if it is made available to us while the time we're doing Discord, and it should be.
Yep.
All right. So again, guys, that is going to be all for this video. Make sure to be here tomorrow and like the video when you come in tomorrow. I do appreciate that.
Yep. Appreciate you guys. Good luck. Good luck tonight. Happy New Year.